You didn't feel good about it. Bronco Nation should be embarrassed. I bet they are. Boise people are pretty nice. But this was the game where his heart left. The UTEP game was where his mind left too. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football, back at it again. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, anything related to American football, hit the red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Hit the like button too. Both of those are free to you and help the channel out a lot. Again, quest for 1,000. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, as you guys know, you see we got the Boise State over here. We got the Boise State over here. Big time Boise State fan. Again, I like to cover all things college football. Talked about Jaden Rashada the other day. Talked about Michigan a lot, things like that. However, a story related to Boise State came up recently. Our dear friend, Mr. Hank Bachmeier, who is the former Boise State quarterback, we'll get into the why behind that, has decided to pick his new home, and I couldn't be happier for the guy. I'm going to run you guys up on the whole situation. It's surprisingly drama-filled, although in terms of, actions, not necessarily like words, this and that through the public or through the media or things like that, but definitely a dramatic series of events that kind of happen here. I'll run you guys up through it because it culminates in Hank Bachmeier heading to Louisiana Tech. And like I said, here we are from Pete Thamel just the other day, midday. Ex-Boise State quarterback Hank Bachmeier transferring to Louisiana Tech. Former Boise State quarterback Hank Bachmeier is transferring to Louisiana Tech. He told ESPN in a phone interview on Wednesday. There was some rumors that FAU, and again, I weren't sure if those were materialized or not, but it ultimately became Louisiana Tech. He won the starting job all 4 years he was at Boise State, but left the team this season before playing in the Broncos' 5th game. That leaves him with 2 full years of eligibility. Again, just to make sure everybody understands this, you are allowed to play 4 games, and then you're still allowed to redshirt that season. So it's up to almost 1/3 of the season if you don't make a bowl game. So he, after the 4th game, decided to leave. I'll run up the why that whole situation here. But first, let's start off with the beginning here and run us up to that day. And we're going to 247 to go to his recruiting profile. So Boise State does not get very many top flight players very often. And again, if they are going to get a 4-star player, it's going to typically be a quarterback. Brett Rippon was one. Hank Bachmeier was another. In terms of 4 stars, very, very few 4-star players commit to Boise State. They're a program building team. If they can get a top flight recruit, they will. But for the most part, and again, he actually, for the most part, encompasses what a Boise State quarterback is. 6 feet to 6'2", 6'3", 180 pounds. Good footwork, quick release, smart player. Is exactly what Hank Bachmeier is. You saw here that they were thinking he might be going to UCLA, go to Minnesota. He had offers from Boston College, Cal, Colorado, and Colorado State. Ultimately picked Boise State. This was 7/1/2019. He started Labor Day weekend in Tallahassee, Florida. And I'll run you up on this game because I was at this game and it was absolutely miserable, but watching it was amazing. So this was Labor Day weekend 2019, Boise State, Florida State. This game was originally supposed to be at a neutral site in Jacksonville. There's a hurricane coming. They move it to a neutral site of Doak Campbell in Tallahassee, where Florida State plays their games. Again, it was probably about 80% capacity, something like that. Still 60,000, 70,000 fans in there. It was absolutely huge. Check me on that, Matthew. I'm not sure about how big Doak Campbell is, but there were still plenty of fans in there. But it comes out and, Kendall Briles' system did a really, really good job with the air raid system. They were up 21-6 in the first quarter. Boise State just kept on chopping away. Actually out, that's the problem with hurry-up offenses is Florida State ran a hurry-up offense, and they would score really quickly. Their defense would get out there, have a long drive. They would get the ball, score quickly. Defense would give up a long drive. And again, even if it was only field goals or this or that, but you saw eventually they gave up 21 points in the first quarter, 10 in the second, and then shut out in the second half. Scored 6, 13, 7, 10. Very, very solid and consistent. Hank Bachmeier, 30 for 51, 407, 1 touchdown, 1 pick in his very first game as a college player down here. You see he had 7 carries for negative 13 yards. He actually had a couple scrambles in there, was able to get long of 13, something like that. So, think about this. You're going up against Cam Akers, a couple other really good players out there, but true freshman for Boise State on the road against a team that won a national championship within the last 10 years at this point is absolutely astonishing to see this guy go from his very first game, the culmination of his career. I know I can play at this level. I absolutely know it. And it ends up here. Now, no disrespect to the fine folks of El Paso, Texas, but it was a dark day, a dark night for the Boise State offense, Hank Bachmeier, and ultimately the offensive coordinator there. And it was round peg, square hole. Andy Avalos, quarterback or coach, comes in, hires Tim Plow, an offensive coordinator or an offensive mind from UC Davis comes in. They're supposed to run an air raid system, but they want them to have some running. It was a weird situation where it really didn't fit. And it culminated in this game. This game, there was a lot of frustrations in this game. You see here the quarterback, Hank Bachmeier, 13 for 34, 93 yards, 1 touchdown. If you look at Gavin Hardison, 10 of 11, 123, and 1 touchdown. You look at the rushing attack, 200 yards, but on 54 carries, 3.7 yards per carry. The defense did a pretty decent job, just absolutely no run support. Ultimately, here, Tim Plow gets fired the day after this, and then Hank Bachmeier, this is the 4th game of the season, decides to transfer away. However, if we're running it back, this was not when his heart left Boise State. I'll run you back on that situation here. During this game here, this was the game the week before, only about 6 days before at home, Boise State versus UT Martin. And again, I had my boy Bronco Blademeier actually interviewed him that morning. I posted it later on. But this was the game here. So game goes fine. They go 30-7. They win the game. Ultimately, there's an FCS opponent. You should be doing that. But during the game, at one point, Hank gets injured. And remember, Boise State did not have a good outing against Oregon State. You didn't really play very well against New Mexico. Come out against UT Martin, win the game. But really, a lot of Bronco Nation was very frustrated. It culminated in one moment that it was so cringy to me when it happened, because just how you could tell fan is short for fanatic because of this moment here. So Hank Bachmeier gets injured at some point. And again, 18 for 25, 204, 2 touchdowns. But he gets injured at one point, and the crowd starts cheering for the backup quarterback. Later on, J.L. Skinner, the safety leader for Boise State's defense, goes online and says, Bronco Nation, we love you, but never, ever do that ever again. I was in the crowd with a couple of season ticket holders, and they felt it was just a really cringy moment, when somebody gets injured and you could tell people like, yeah, we're going to be good now. Yeah, ha, ha, ha. It was just, you didn't feel good about it. Bronco Nation should be embarrassed. I bet they are. Boise people are pretty nice. But this was the game where his heart left. The UTEP game was where his mind left too. Now, that's the past, focusing on the future. So Hank Bachmeier is going to get potentially his wish. Again, Tim Plow, the former offensive coordinator who was fired within about 24 hours of Hank leaving, he was an air raid system guy. He is going from Boise State's system, where, again, it was it kind of transitioned a little bit toward of a mixed spread run attack, do a pure air raid system. So you see this right here. I wanted to play in the air raid in a pass-friendly offense. I think Coach Cumbie and his track record are a great fit. It's an offense that any quarterback would want to play in. You see here, as Bachmeier evaluated his options, he kept coming back to Cumbie's offensive acumen, with Cumbie having learned under Mike Leach and Cliff Kingsbury. Cumbie's offenses while at Texas Tech routinely threw for more than 4,000 yards per season. I asked a bunch of people, and not once did they say a bad thing about Coach Cumbie. He got rave reviews. Coach Cumbie, 3-9 in his first season at Louisiana Tech, but I'm telling you right now, they're going to run a pass off the offense. Hank Bachmeier, really solid passer out there. And especially with a lot of the changes in Conference USA, this is what he's looking at. So you come over here, because Conference USA, remember, they kind of got pillaged there for a couple of people. Conference USA got pillaged, went over to the Sun Belt, and this and that. There was lots and lots of movement. This is what this next year is going to look like. Louisiana Tech's got Sam Houston State, UTEP, New Mexico State, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State. And then we've got Florida International, Liberty, Western Kentucky, and I think I already said Mid-Tennessee State. But anyways, you got 9 opponents there. You have 8 games in conference, but it is absolutely awesome for him. And again, thinking about that, from that day in Tallahassee, Florida, up until the day in El Paso, Texas, you would have never thought that would have been the story. Hopefully he has more of the story left. Remember, he still has an extra year because of COVID, and he's got this year because it doesn't count because he only played 4 games. 2 more years for Hank Bachmeier. Good luck to him, man. You absolutely deserve it. Now, don't get me wrong. I am very excited about my boy Taylor Green. First of all, and I'm telling you, this is absolutely crazy, but it's really awesome when you have 6'6" quarterbacks who can run and have absolute rocket arms. It's really cool to have that. That being said, you can do more than enough with Hank Bachmeier as quarterback. Week 1 at Florida State on the road after game was moved because of hurricane. Boom. No red shirt. He goes out there, wins that game. Absolutely shocking. He is capable of a lot. Now, I think what he needs to do, some of his shortcomings, not exactly the most mobile guy, but very quick arm, very accurate passer, good smart guy. Again, I think at the end of the Boise State run, it was just one of those situations where the thing about a trade and the thing about a transition, it doesn't necessarily mean both people are bad. It just means both people need better spots. For him, I think this is going to be a great idea for him. Good luck for you, Hank. Man, I appreciate all you've done. I'll never forget that game in Florida, in Tallahassee, Florida. I drank 4 bottles of water, didn't go to the bathroom once. It was boiling lava hot. Cam Akers was killing on the other side of the field, and you led Boise State to victory. I thank you so much for that, man. Anyways, guys, get in the comments right now. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. But that's it for me, guys. I will see you guys later. I am out.